First, I want to thank TIA. I've been a member of TIA for a very, very long time as a company and very active as a representative individually on the board and et cetera. But they're doing a great service to the industry. I was going back in my emails trying to figure out when we were talking about smart connected devices, and in 2008 at a board meeting, and then ultimately in 2009 we initiated the TR50 activities, which I thought was great. And it's a new frontier, and now everybody's talking about IoT and everybody's talking about M2M, and everybody says, well, gosh, that makes a lot of sense. But in reality, it didn't necessarily make intuitive sense before. I said he introduced me as Fred Jentz, President and CEO of ILS Technology, a Telit company. Let me tell you a little bit about myself and about Telit. ILS Technology, I like to say, is a 15-year-old company with a 30-year history. And the reason I say that is we came out of IBM. We were doing M2M and IoT over Token Ring, quite frankly, if that dates me and puts me back in the world. There was no public internet where we were running this stuff across. We were connecting things to applications. And in reality, IoT is about things to applications anyway. We spun out of IBM in 2000. We had a great run. We had a lot of fun up until 2013, at which time we really found a great partner in this whole IoT market making. And that partner was Telit. So we actually became part of the Telit company in September of 2013. And the reason for that is quite simple. We were in the market of providing a horizontal solution that connected kind of any vertical into any application. And that means you had to turn it into a data problem, not necessarily a thing-specific problem. And Telit also is in the market of providing very, very horizontal and scalable solutions in terms of instrumenting the things with cellular devices, which we call basically IoT or M2M modules, from 2G to LTE, also location type modules. So together, we created what I think you'll find is probably the largest singularly focused company. I mean, some of the big companies, the Ciscos and the IBMs of the world, have big numbers on IoT, but they're also giant companies. We are 100% focused on IoT globally. We instrument things, we make the modules, we have the ability to provide interconnect through our M&O relationships, and we have the ability to go over the top and work with partners to basically make this data actionable. So I like to say it's the smallest but yet biggest company I've ever worked for in IoT, and it's probably the most global company. With just over 800 people, we speak a ton of languages, we sell in 80 countries, and we have a lot of fun doing it because this is a great, great new frontier. So Scott said 50 billion things. Isn't that a good reason to be excited? 50 billion things. Are you ready? Are you ready for that? And is it real? What does it mean? First of all, what I think is important to note is the technologies have matured. Some standards have become rationalized where it's not a scary, scary science project. If people played in IoT 8 years ago, 9 years ago, sometimes maybe even 3, 4 years ago, there were some challenges with the ecosystem. There were some challenges with interoperability. There were so many new domains that a company had to address to be successful in IoT that there were some failed science projects. And I think those days are completely over. And when I think about the future, it truly is a much easier future that's not so much about the technology as it is about the business value. The other problem is a technology like IoT and M2M gets kind of rolling and out there. The early adopters and the early innovators, unfortunately, we love to talk about how we did it. Quite frankly, that doesn't matter. It's why you use it is ultimately what creates pickup in a market. So when I think about IoT, I think about this really cool opportunity for business transformation. And if we can create a method in a process and basically the underlying technologies to allow people to figure out how to transform their business and give the operators, big or small, local or foreign, the opportunity to offer these services to their enterprise customers, what you're going to find is you're going to find stickier customer relationships. You're going to find increased ARPU, you're going to find more sustainable value. Now, I like to say that there's no reason to do this unless you do one of three things. Hopefully you do all three, but make money. Your customers, your enterprise customers, or your own companies, you basically need to figure out a way to take these technologies and create new services or to create new offerings to basically figure out how to make money. There's got to be some return. Now, it might be indirect return. It might be just getting closer to your customer. It might be an affinity program that you use through connectivity. But somehow you've got to figure out how to build business value. The second thing is save money. This is actually probably the first use case in a lot of IoT in M2M. It was, how do I reduce my fleets? How can I do just-in-time fulfillment? How can I sense and see if something's broken and then maybe roll a truck only when I need to? The third thing I say is stay out of jail. I never write it down, though. I always say be compliant. But compliance is a big deal. And it isn't necessarily legal compliance. It might be just your industry compliance. It might be compliance to business practices. It might be compliance for warranty entitlement, right? It's part of a business process, but it's measuring maybe compliance, not necessarily operational effectiveness of the asset. So there's a lot of really cool reasons to do IoT, and it's really important to think about it not as a technology, but as a toolbox of great solutions that a lot of the vendors here and people on the other side of the room can certainly help you with. I think we're really good at it, of course. I think we're in the top shelf of potential choices because we offer the end-to-end solution. But there's a way to move forward in IoT today that's not scary. Now, I just said it's all about make money, save money, stay compliant. But I have to take a minute to at least tell you what it is. When you think about IoT, what's unique about IoT is you're connecting to things and you're collecting data. You're moving it through a network, and you're ultimately creating a point somewhere in the system where value is delivered. Without delivering value, it's just a connection, and a connection without value is usually called cost, and cost projects don't last very long. So it's connecting to a thing, moving it over into an application domain. Now, uniquely, a lot of things were connected cellular or wired, but there's some unique wireless technologies coming on board. So now we think about thing to cloud, cloud to application enablement platform, some of the unlicensed spectrum stuff, the low power stuff. So having integration into LoRa and Sigfox and some of these other technologies is very, very important as well. And not everything on the right side is either your existing SAP ERP system, or maybe it's your Oracle backend, your enterprise systems. But it might be different clouds. It might be cloud-based HANA from SAP. It might be Google big cloud platform, big table, big query. Who knows, kind of how you're going to innovate, but there's reasons to do that. And there's a lot of cloud-to-cloud integration as well. For example, cloud-to-cloud into M2X, the AT&T environment. But this is about collecting, managing, and creating basically a point of delivery of value, whether that's through analytics or whether it's other application onboarding. Now, there's one cool thing in the middle there on the left. It's called the cloud-ready telemodules. This is one of the big differentiators. If you're a maker, if you're creating a thing, if you're making a new device and you want to actually make it cloud-ready or IoT-ready, if you're connecting a car or if you're connecting a wearable, doesn't matter. We've made that very easy for the maker community by putting some AT commands right in there that say click to cloud. Basically, you call an AT command and you can go right to the service. So that's cool. So that's about not worrying about the technology and making it easy so that ultimately people can worry about the business process. Now, we serve many, many markets. A horizontal platform, if you're an operator and you're going to put a platform out there for your enterprise customers to use, you can't have a platform for telecommunication, telemetry, or transportation, one for maybe industrial IoT, another one for medical IoT. You want to have a platform that's very, very scalable to most of your customers' needs. So the idea of having something that's able to serve a lot of industries is also very key for you as you think about rolling out IoT projects to your customers. When we think about this, it's about innovation. I said it's all about creating business value, and these are all good words, and it's fun for a supplier of technology and solutions to change the game and talk about business value, and then I can tell you it's great. But what I want to do is I want to introduce one of our customers, Paul Wellman, who is the CIO of the Tennant Company. And if anybody has traveled in an airport, gone to an event, if you went to the stadium last night, there were a couple Tennant sweepers, cleaners out there and about. So this is kind of taking an old industry of cleaning floors and mashing it up to some really cool ways to create value. And with that, I want to give it to Paul. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Fred. Good afternoon, everyone. There's a bit of irony that Fred invited me, representing a cleaning equipment company, to speak about the Internet of Things while you are all cleaning your plates here. So hopefully you can relate to me as I tell you my journey. Again, I'm Paul Wellman, the Chief Information Officer of Tennant Company. Tennant is a Minneapolis-based firm that is a world leader in the marketing, sales, and service of industrial and commercial floor cleaning solutions. We are commonly known for the products you see here, the teal blue machines, as Fred mentioned, and you'll see in hotel convention centers like this, or in airports, or factories and warehouses, or AT&T's stadium, things like that. This is also where we've had a great interest in this technology that all of you are involved in helping make the Internet of Things come to life. And in particular, it's our commercial and industrial equipment you see in the upper part of my circle. Those are typically where we sell fleets of machines to customers. And those are anything from dozens of machines to hundreds of machines to thousands of machines to global customers that have for a long time asked us to help them manage these assets. I'm not sure how many cleaning Tennant machines are in the AT&T Stadium, but we saw 3 of them tucked away in one of the side rooms. There's probably dozens of Tennant machines in AT&T Stadium, and the operators, building services contractors have asked us for help in a variety of ways to better manage those assets, to help them lower their cost of cleaning. And we've been interested in doing that for a long time. Our focus on the Internet of Things, or getting value from telemetry, started about 10 years ago, in fact, where we had a sales executive who thought he could sell the value of data from machines, and he challenged the internal engineering and R&D organizations to build an Internet of Things solution that he could sell to customers. And we've been working on it for 10 years and have come up with several generations of that capability that we're bringing to market now. The challenge of that is what all of you will hear about or see with manufacturing companies like mine, making these solutions come to life and add value. It's not easy. Tennant machines are, again, industrial grade. They're exposed to water, vibrations, temperature swings. So there were years of engineering prototypes of circuit boards that were ruggedized. We started with a 2G cellular radio modem and weren't sure how to create the data or sell the information. So we started with the basic hourly meter readings from machines that we would collect from a core SIM modem that was sending email data files to a SQL Server database. And we started with that and spent years kind of prototyping this out. And then that culminated a few years ago with about 5,000 machines we had connected around North America on this first generation prototype, the 2G radios. And we got to a point where we saw the value proposition, we saw growing customer interest in this space, and we knew we had an investment to make and a big strategic innovative value proposition to go to our customers with. But it's also at that point I knew we're not going to be able to manage this on a global scale. Tennant is a less than $1 billion company. We've got a lean engineering team, a lean IT team, and we're not staffed or prepared to manage the complexities of devices, the communications challenges, firmware updates, all of these things, and then present that data in a simple way back to customers. So we reached out to a couple world-class firms, ILS and Untitled being one of, and said we need help to build a next-generation solution that's scalable, and we can offer this to our global customers and present the data. So ILS and Untitled were certainly on the device management communication side. We also engaged SAP and their Internet of Things product team to help us with the software technology and the services partners that could help us take it to the next level as well. That culminated earlier this year with our second generation of what we call IRIS, which is our Intelligent Remote Information System. It's actually a configurable option on the 50 machines that can be configured at Tenant to add this capability to. And that's where you'll see it includes a 3G multi-tech modem wired into the control systems of the machines. And we leverage TeleSIMs and the ILS software, the device-wise cloud that you heard Fred speaking about just now to collect that. And then we're passing that into an SAP HANA database with a business objects, customer-friendly KPI portal layered on top of that, and then offering that to our customers through our public websites, user role-based authenticated portals. So we have this solution now functional and operational, and it looks beautiful, and we are leading our industry and getting into this space very rapidly. All of our global competitors are also investing in this platform, and I think we are going to see amazing adoption in the coming months and years around this entire space. So this represents, again, a 10-year journey to make a scalable model, bring the Internet of Things to life at Tenant, which has been enormously challenging along the way. But we do see an enormous value proposition coming from it. So with that in mind, how we've brought this to market has also been a case study of its own. Our marketing team has spent several years doing marketing research, voice of customer feedback. How do you want to use data? And what they've concluded, it's more than just machine data they're looking for. They're looking for the value of the assets they're using. How can manufacturing companies help them use all information, not just machine data, but actual transactional histories, service histories, equipment histories? How can they use all of that data to lower their cost of cleaning? And so we've positioned this as kind of a broader asset management portal, more than just a machine-to-machine solution. And it's designed to empower our customers with data to reduce their cost of cleaning. And we're going after kind of what we've heard as the critical information customers are looking for, which is usage by machine, where they can see by day, by location, how machines are being used throughout the day. Machine location, I'll talk more about this, but Tenant machines can get misplaced and lost in big facilities, so we oftentimes have people asking us to help locate. EC water usage, Tenant has a proprietary technology that's chemical-free, and we monitor the usage of that. Maintenance costs, this is another one where our customers are asking for help managing their service costs, and presenting that back to equipment along with run times helps kind of complete the asset picture for them. And then lastly, critical alerts, or if there's a machine down situation, helping make that visible to our service force or the operators of customers to react to more quickly. So a couple of the key things, again, operational consistency for our customers equals labor savings. So machine utilization, which is purely machine data, machine-to-machine data, we've broken out a whole variety of KPIs that illustrate how a fleet customer could use this type of solution for their machines across the fleet. In this example, and again, Tenant has fleets of machines in retail stores around the world. A retail store fleet customer can track machines by store and can monitor usage by day and see if there's a problem with a machine not being used at all in a store, or a problem with the machine being used far more than it should be in a store. It allows them to focus on, are there labor issues, are there machine issues? So there's a labor savings value proposition from the machine data we're seeing. Minimizing the cost of lost assets. Again, Tenant machines do get lost and stolen, and this is a common request, is help us find these machines. If you were on the AT&T Stadium tour, it would not be surprising to you to lose machines in that stadium. Very large space. Tenant machines typically get tucked away in different back rooms and things, and can be challenging to find them. So we, working with Telit, have devised a SIM-based triangulation that helps identify where these machines are located. Tracking maintenance spending to find saving opportunities, again, for planned maintenance, for breakdowns, or for misuse and abuse of machines. Exposing that information by machine to the owners of the machines does help them ensure their assets are going to be more fully utilized and that they can deal with these issues more proactively. So we've designed our IRIS solution for fleet management. Again, the IRIS Asset Management product is how we are positioning it. It is a customer web-based portal, and you'll see an example of that portal on the right that's available through the tenant public websites. Layered with all the KPIs we have created for customers to be able to use. It's designed for our commercial and industrial fleet machines. And it does track machine performance, location, and we're tying it in with our SAP ERP environment, again, completing kind of that asset picture with service histories and things like that. How we envision machine-to-machine and the Internet of Things growing revenue, this is where it gets exciting because it's the business transformation you hear about. We see an increased value proposition of existing service and parts business. We also sell field service to keep our machines operational as well as replacement parts. Being able to tie this into usage-based service agreements as well as offer parts supply more effectively, we think has a great revenue potential. We think there's value by providing a fleet management solution to cleaning machine customers oftentimes buy competitive machines as well, so they'll have a mixed fleet of machines. We see this solution as another reason to buy all tenant machines and drive fleet revenue accordingly. And then lastly, just the quality of this information and having a sales or service discussion with customers to see this level of data about how these assets and machines are being used, we think has a level of customer intimacy that will foster more business and a greater relationship ongoing. Future capabilities. If you talk to the electrical and controls engineers of the world, they love the potential of what can be done with the Internet of Things because anything that creates a signal on a control system of a machine can be collected and managed. So there is an enormous potential of additional machine data that can be brought forward through the solutions. In our space, we see battery metrics having a great opportunity. It's another commonly used or commonly misused item on tenant machines where batteries aren't charged every night like they're supposed to be, which decreases battery life and allows the machines to be sub-optimized. Our Orbio chemical-free cleaning technologies, tracking that. Impact detection, that's another common issue with tenant machines. They're misused and abused or hitting walls or warehouse shelves, things like that damage them. Putting shock detection on these machines can allow that to trigger sensors to communicate that operators need better training or that there's a problem. Maintenance diagnostics of machines, anything that can keep a machine running more effectively is of great value. And then lastly, usage by operator ID. So some of our large machines do need training and safety certification, and there is the ability to control operator certification with operator badges and tie that back through to see the operators actually using machines at the specific times. So lastly, we are getting great customer feedback on this. What we're finding kind of being an innovative leader in this space in our industry is we are educating. We are educating customers. We are educating our sales force, our service force. We are trying to demonstrate the value proposition that is going to become expected in the short term, I think, with all fleet equipment companies. But we are getting great feedback on our solution. We're excited about the partner with Fred and ILS and the Telit company. And I thank the TIA group for having this topic here. It is exciting for a manufacturing company like Tennant to see this space evolving and becoming more standardized and more mainstream because we do expect all tenant machines worldwide eventually to be connected to the Internet of Things where we are continually offering additional value-added services and products. So that's my presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, thank you.
So are you ready? Right, that's the big operator question. Are you ready to service customers like Paul that need to implement simple services, but have a vision towards enhanced services quickly. You know, the 10-year journey Paul took was interesting, but now we're on a tack time of probably every 6 months. We'll be upgrading features and doing some really cool things because it's a scalable, leverageable platform. Now, let's bring it back to a lot of relevance here in the room. People sitting here, there's operators. How many operators in the room? How many people from an operator? Okay, good. Or a large SI. So both of these guys can kind of play in this space, operators or large SIs. What we see is a reason to implement for your customers is often a barrier to implement for your customers, right? What's the business case? How do I deploy IoT on behalf of my customers? My customers don't quite understand it yet. I got to train my sales guys to maybe not sell data plans, but to sell business value, right? Talking about making money, saving money, being compliant. So what we did at ILS Tell It is we decided, you know, we need to make this a very, very paced plan. When operators are selling bandwidth and services, you basically pay per use. So how do you take a small bite of IoT as an operator or as an SI and offer it to your customers, and when you get traction, business traction from crawl, take a bigger bite. And now maybe you put it into a managed service where there's 5 nines and or not 5 nines, you know, 3 to 4 nines on IoT. It's an over-the-top service that you can actually write an SLA to your customers. But now you've built the business case. And then run, maybe you want to put it in your network. Maybe you actually want to move it into your space and manage it. But if you start on the right side here, man, that's a big bite that you guys have to take on. That's a lot of risk, frequently, and it's a tough decision to make in an operator environment. So going from basically a fully hosted managed service, branded, that's out there that you can go test the waters with folks like Tenet is great. When you build the business case, put it into your infrastructure a little bit tighter, and just kind of continue to grow with your customers so that you can do this in a very, very paced fashion. Some details, I mean, it's all about basically a one-time fee where you can get in and basically try. That's the way we've structured the crawl model. One-time fee, sell it to as many customers, get as many pilots going, understand how to make a business of IoT if you haven't done that yet. Now, some of the big carriers, you know, the AT&Ts and the Verizons, we've worked with them for years, for Sprints. They get it, right? They're pretty tuned in, but a lot of the regional guys that want to go into the space, they haven't figured it out. A lot of the tier 2 companies or tier 2 mobile operators around the world are also figuring this out. We're deployed globally. We've got instances in the US, we've got instances in Asia. We're in Europe, in the Middle East. We're pretty much deploying across MNOs globally, which is great for companies like Tenet as well, because they have hundreds of thousands of machines around the world. So being able to connect and manage across operators is also a pretty cool thing. You know, Walk, it starts becoming a revenue share. It's completely managed on your behalf. You just teach your sales guys to go have business discussions with your customers. It's not about the technology. It's funny, we trained one major operator. We talked to, I shouldn't say trained, we informed probably 3,000 sales guys in their operation, enterprise sales teams. And the guys that ask us the most questions about how it worked are actually the guys that didn't sell anything. The guys that ask us questions, why, and show me some use cases, were the guys that actually could articulate the value to their enterprise customers, and that was a pretty neat deal. And then run, just more buy-in, more doubling down on the technology. You're committed, and the revenue share just gets deeper and deeper for the operator. But that's what we do. We want to enable you, the operators, you, the SIs, and ultimately we want to deliver value to the enterprise customers like Tenet. So an example of a success story here is, I picked a foreign one because I didn't think they would be here. We're okay to do this, but I didn't want to pick anybody in the room and not pick another. Proximus M2M Factory powered by DeviceWise. So this is a turnkey solution offered in Belgium, in Luxembourg, by a state-owned operator that basically does everything I showed you before and can make guys like Paul and Tenet very, very happy out of the box. It's a very simple DIY environment where people can develop on it, or they can bring in their SI partners to help them. And when you look at this, the ecosystem is, you know, you connect things, You have connectivity, there's solutions. They have about 80 ASPs. So these are the turnkey apps that are built basically for verticals, but we're not doing it, right? And the operator's not doing it. They have partners that can do it, that can basically deliver value, and then ultimately take more ARPU, get a stickier customer relationship, and build a long-term value relationship with the customer. So with that, I want to end with questions. I'm going to ask Paul to come up if there's questions for any of us. Tenet or ILS, Telit, let us know.
How do your end users for these products or services, the connected machines and cleaning and things like that, actually experience this? Like, how did you communicate to them? How easy did they understand it? Are they adopting it easily?
Yeah, that has been one of the biggest challenges. We've got internal stakeholders as well as the customers. So the internal stakeholders is our customer service organization, it's our engineering organization, it's our field service organization. This is somewhat new to them as well, but they immediately realize seeing what's happening at a machine with whatever data they can collect is valuable. The challenge is then how do you present it simply and actionably for them. So a lot of the KPIs you saw me mention, that's taken months of development time to create that, but it's the hardest part of the adoption of the Internet of Things capabilities within a company is the education, the presenting the value of the Internet of Things machine data is time consuming.
Yeah, do Tenet's customers report a payback? And if so, do they give you a range of what that might be?
We've not heard that kind of economic value yet. What we've heard is from fleet customers, the last quote, for example, they feel enlightened to see actually that machines are or are not being used. And oftentimes the owners of Tenet machines are not the ones that use them. They contract that service out. They have contract labor force that work in stores overnight, things like that, where they don't see and actually know how machines are being used or how productive labor is. Getting machine data like this now lets them see that machines are or are not being used, and they feel better that the assets are being utilized, that they have actual usage information, and they see the value of that. That's where we see fleet sales opportunities. There's also the field service value proposition where we sell field service, and actually seeing usage information on machines can control and save a lot of efficiencies on making unnecessary trips, making sure we have parts to replace those that are being used. Things like that are still being captured, documented, and experienced by the customers using this. We've not gotten to that point of the big economic drivers. I expect to see that soon, though.
Excellent presentation, by the way. Thank you.
you.
Just as a follow-up to the previous question on the customer payback, could you maybe share with us how is it that you charge for the connected services, or the hardware, software, any services? How do you go about doing that?
Yeah, that's a great question, and our marketing and sales organization struggled with that for a couple of years. What we found in our industry, nobody wants to pay a monthly cost to see data like this. So we realized we're not going to be able to sell it as a per month sort of additional expense. What we ended up justifying the entire investment around, which includes all the engineering R&D to build the actual capability, the information systems to present it back to customers. We justified that as an investment in fleet sales revenue increases as well as field service efficiencies. So we know we will be able to take field service trips out of our service organizations, which saves money from that respect. And we know having a fleet asset management tool is going to drive more fleet sales and adoption, and we think that will justify the return. So we are offering this as a configurable option. Customers can buy on Tenet machines and buy it in a 3-year Iris asset management fleet package or a 5-year package. And with that would come the monthly data plan costs as a part of the ILS Telit arrangement, and that they would be able to see that data come through the portal we've created.
Yeah, that is actually a great question. And we see a lot of customers. Telit, we have about 5,000 customers globally. And how they monetize this, whether it's a fixed fee over the course of the lifespan of the product or whether it's a monthly charge, it really changes pretty radically depending on industry, the the sophistication of the buyer. But what I think is interesting is just as we talk about crawl, walk, run for operator pickup, it's the same for customers. And you know, some of you have some of these on your seats, but these are use cases basically from a lot of our customers. Give a customer data they never had before. Let them derive a little bit of value, and you will immediately have adjacent needs. And you know, I've not met an IoT project that hasn't had creep, scope creep. That's because it's been value increases along the way. There wouldn't be realized scope creep on a project unless there was realized value. And it's, you know, I like to say you got to get started to get started. If you're waiting for IoT to find you, shame on you. It's happening, it's everywhere. If you jump in and learn on a simple use case and you start looking at value from adjacencies, then I think your charging methods to your customers will radically change. Just like the freemium services. They're all great until you want that next click. And then people buy into a freemium service for an app or something else. So never think it's done. It's a great path for very rapid evolution and application. Well, again, thank you all. Paul, thank you for your time.